America dropped 900 bombs in 12 hours. Assassinate Iran's supreme leader, sank 90% of their navy, destroyed their air force, their radar, their missile factories, and then sat down at a table in Pakistan and started begging for a deal. So let me ask you something. Who actually won this war? Let's start from the very beginning, because this story starts with a lie. It is February 28th, 2026. TACO launches Operation Epic Fury, the biggest US military strike since Iraq. The official reason: Iran's nuclear program, an imminent threat. They had to act now. But just one day before the bombs dropped, Oman's foreign minister said a breakthrough had been reached. Iran had agreed to never stockpile enriched uranium. Full IAEA verification. Peace was within reach. The strikes were launched during active negotiations. America didn't go to war because diplomacy failed. America went to war because diplomacy was working, and someone didn't want that. Now, fast forward 40 days. Let's look at what actually happened on the battlefield. Trump told the world this would be fast, clean, decisive. He said just about everything's been knocked out. Iran has no navy, no air force, no air detection, no radar. Sounds like a victory speech, right? But here's the reality they buried. America lost 4 F-15 fighter jets, an F-35, an A-10 Warthog, an E-3 AWACS surveillance plane, a KC-135 refueling tanker, 2 Black Hawk helicopters, 2 C-130 transport planes, and over 24 Reaper drones. Total equipment losses over $2.35 billion in just 40 days. For comparison, during the entire 2011 Libya campaign, which lasted 4 months, there were just 3 reported combat losses. This wasn't a clean war. This was a bloodbath for American equipment. But wait, it gets worse, because now we need to talk about the bombs. $5.6 billion in weaponry was burned off in just the first 2 days. 2 days. THAAD missile systems, America's most advanced air defense, only 96 get built per year. A quarter of the entire United States stockpile was already gone before this war started. Patriot interceptor inventories were a quarter full before the first bomb dropped. And analysts gave a brutal verdict. The nation had a few weeks of precision bombing left before running out of the munitions typically used in modern warfare. Read that again. The most powerful military on Earth, spending over $1 trillion a year, was weeks away from running out of bombs. But here's the part that explains everything. This is where Iran flipped the whole script. Iran could not beat America in the sky. They knew that. So instead, they closed one door, and it strangled the entire world. The Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the planet's oil passes through that waterway every single day. Iran shut it down. And suddenly Iran was holding the global economy hostage and building political costs for America that Trump was simply unwilling to pay. The United States Navy was right there, physically capable of forcing the strait open. But sending warships through would hand Iran a propaganda victory if even one American vessel was struck or sunk. It would require ground troops, United States combat deaths, which would collapse Trump's political standing at home. So the most powerful navy in history sat and watched. The superpower was not defeated by missiles. It was defeated by leverage. And then came the cost exchange. And this one is embarrassing. Iran's cheap drones and missiles were forcing far more expensive American responses. The United States used thousands of precision-guided munitions just to counter Iranian launches in the first month alone. Iran sends a drone costing a few $1,000s. America shoots it down with a Patriot missile worth $3 to $4 million. Do that 1,000 times, and tell me who's winning the financial war. And then came the moment that revealed everything. April 7th. Trump sets a hard deadline. He goes on Truth Social and threatens to destroy bridges, power plants and water treatment facilities. A whole civilization will die tonight. International legal experts immediately said those would be war crimes. That is not the language of a general winning a war. That is the language of a man running out of options. And what happened? Less than 2 hours before his own deadline, Trump agreed to a ceasefire. He set the clock. He blinked before it ran out. Now let's talk about what Iran is demanding at the negotiating table. Because this is the story. Iran's 10-point plan demands controlled passage through the Strait under Iran's authority. Withdrawal of all United States combat forces from the region. Removal of every single sanction and United Nations resolution. Compensation, reparations, and Iran's guaranteed right to nuclear enrichment. That is not the demand list of a country that lost. That is the demand list of a country that won. And Iran's Supreme National Security Council said it out loud. Nearly all of the war's objectives have been achieved. Your valiant sons have driven the enemy into a state of historic helplessness and enduring defeat. So, what does the analysis say? The Guardian put it bluntly. The war was intended to be swift and decisive. It proved far more costly and undermined United States credibility. It failed to produce regime change. The Islamic Republic remained standing. Iran expert Trita Parsi said it plainly. Trump's failed use of force has blunted the credibility of American military threats. After a failed war, those threats ring hollow. And the most dangerous long-term consequence, the depletion of key munitions needed for far more dangerous adversaries. Strategic losses that will take years to replace, leaving America less equipped to deter China. Taiwan is watching. Russia is watching. North Korea is watching. They all just watched the most powerful military on Earth fail to win against one of the most sanctioned, weakest economies on the planet. Here is the bottom line. America can destroy, but it cannot convert destruction into political victory. And that gap between military power and strategic outcome is the story the mainstream media refuses to tell you. Because if they told you that story, they would have to admit something uncomfortable. The American military myth died in the skies over Tehran, and the whole world saw it happen. Here we are, the story behind the story. Share this if they won't say it on the news, and drop a comment. Do you think the Islamabad talks will produce a real deal? Or is this ceasefire just a pause before round 2?